Welcome to the Responsibility Conversation Part 3. So you have spent probably about almost 3 hours with the Core Fellowship. And in this installment, things get pretty intense. We talk about some of the issues in the world. This conversation took place just after the school shooting in Uvalde, so we talked about that. So I wanted to let you know that this conversation does get pretty intense, and we do talk about some very serious topic matter. So just wanted to kind of put that ahead of today's conversation. So we talk about the legal system, what is justice. That had been a conversation for quite some time with the Core Fellowship, with understanding what we call the layers of the law. And there's been a lot of conversation in my circles now about the value of freedom and the value of justice, and how those can sometimes be at odds with each other, that they don't always mean the same thing. And one person's freedom is an infringement on another person's justice. So this is something that's important to us as well, too, because we want to invite people who are interested in changing the legal system, changing the political system, changing all of those systems where there doesn't seem to be a lot of emotional intelligence or understanding that is at least demonstrated, at least not in mass media. So that is why that's an important conversation and an important part on our matrix as well. When I think about the question of justice and talking about the legal system, I think about deep democracy. How do we really create a system or create a container where everybody's voice is truly equal? And I'd like to propose that discussing action steps, through the filter of values might be a step in the right direction. I imagine politicians from opposite sides of the spectrum coming together and starting with appreciation and possibility so that the values can be openly discussed. And that's something I've always been curious about as well. Why is it always such a competitive, emotionally intense endeavor? What is it going to take to step back and really take a look at the bigger picture? So that's why I think about deep democracy when I think about these kinds of conversations. All right, so we'll go ahead and get into the responsibility conversation part 3. Marta is not joining us in this conversation, but she had watched the recording of it, and we will not be addressing the matrix right away, but in part 4 you'll see how this conversation set up the responsibility conversation where we went through and did the matrix on our next part 4. All right, so that's all I really have to say about this. This is the responsibility conversation part 3. All right, welcome everyone. I'm very happy to see you all today. So we'll see how today goes. I think we're going to be putting this into a recording, and I'll send it to Marta when we're all finished. But Marta, we're thinking of you. We're holding space for you as well, too. So why don't we just check in? How are you arriving, and what are you bringing today? I think I will start today. I'm arriving feeling very a lot of energy, a little bit scattered. I have some exciting things coming up this week. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie's listening. She'll check in last. I attended the First Peoples Festival yesterday as part of my work with Circle of Miracles, and connected with an organization that I'll be attending one of their workshops or whatever later this week, called the Peace Center. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about continuing collaboration with organizations that are kind of starting to understand that it is about inclusiveness. It is about really listening to each other and opening the space, having space for new information to come in, thinking about things you might not have considered before, and yeah, just working towards together. So I'm arriving feeling very grateful for that opportunity and for being here and having this conversation. Parmjit, I'm really, really looking forward to this topic, especially because there's a lot that's been coming up for me around justice, the legal system, and especially in what's going on in our country, in the U.S. right now. So I'm bringing, flexibility. I understand that we're not going to get all of our numbers on our matrix today, which is fine. Parmjit, Neff, and I might do that, and I'll send the recording to Jamie and to Marta to complete here. So yeah, bringing flexibility and willingness to adapt. And with that, I'm in, and I'll pass it to Parmjit.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, so justice and the law is kind of uppermost for me at the moment. Just before the call, I was just doing the next part of the practical phase of what I'm doing with the fixed penalty notice for the parking. And so there's like a whole theoretical kind of thing, as you know, Mike, that I've been working on very rigorously, and that's taken me very wide and deep in terms of understanding the mechanisms and architecture and history. And then I've got this practical kind of stuff as well, which can, you know, I kind of feel like I'm fumbling a bit because it's new territory, the practical bit, but I am beginning to form an idea of how entrenched and what a huge area it is that we're talking about. And so I'm open to kind of throwing around, because it's kind of everything, really. I wouldn't know where to start in a way, so maybe I'll just wait to get my guidance from you guys about what you want to focus on in particular. Maybe that's going to be a good way. But, you know, the more I kind of do practical stuff and test things out, it does give you a sense of expansion, because it's like, oh, well, I read that that's the case, and I did the documents and the kind of process, and it's true, you know. And my dad's like, he's quite amazed, like, really, you're suing the people who are giving us a parking ticket. How is that possible, you know? And so, and what's happened there is that it's made him more receptive to some of the weirdness that's going on around us, and that's most of the battle, really. Once you change your perspective, then you make room for information that's new and weird.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's accepting that weirdness. Yeah, let's go into that in a little more detail in a little bit. But how are you arriving, and what are you bringing today, Parmjit?
Yeah, so I'm just bringing that sense of that you're not quite sure when you're taking those practical steps, because I've just been finished doing all of that paperwork, but together with a sense of direction that, you know, we have something here. And so what I'm bringing is a willingness to respond, I guess, to the group's kind of things that are relevant to the group.
Great.
I'll pass it on to Nefertiti.
Great, thank you, Parmjit.
Thank you, Parmjit. Thank you, Mike. Good morning, Jamie, and everyone else. Woo-wee! It's June. You know that if I was alive 56 years ago, my other half and I would be in jail, because it's been 55 years since they passed a law for interracial couples to be together. So, laws. What am I bringing? How am I arriving? I'm arriving all over the place. I'm grateful for the internet holding as it's storming outside out of nowhere. I've had to slow down significantly and just really be present to how many weird things are occurring in my life. So for me, I've been experiencing a lot of body feelings, and my heart pressure, whatever they call it, blood pressure, they're monitoring me. So I recall years ago, I had a conversation with a friend who's pretty in tune, like spiritually, and she's a psychic, I guess you call her. That's what she claims herself to be. And she would make fun of me because she told me my heart would flutter when one of my past members of my family was near me. So that's been in my mind, acknowledgement of how weird things could feel, and depending on the conversation you're having with whoever you're having it with, the reasons for the weirdness can be limitless. Like my shoulder hurts because it's gonna rain, or my heart's fluttering because I have high blood pressure, or maybe there's this other things happening I have no sight on in certain ways. So I'm arriving really curious, really like, wow. My gratitude has gone through the roof. Like every morning I wake up and I'm grateful for like everything. Not that I haven't been before, but it feels more real, more practical. That practicality piece. Because I do desire a world where all of our needs are met effortlessly. I'm going to put that word in there because I do believe all of our needs are met. It's just the way that we approach receiving it that's tends to be, problematic, and so I've really, in the past few weeks, been involved with the mental health field and just my own body, my own health. And, I said a couple bold statements recently that I think I felt it more, like it reverberated in my physical being. And just like a day or two ago, I'll just say this and wrap it up. I had realized I said in a class, a public class, that is a choice. When I said it, it didn't, I said it and, I believe that. But then in aspect of who I was speaking to, even like myself, like that's a weird concept. That's a weird thing for me to really practically believe. Like if I want to sit and go through all those scenarios, that death is a choice. So I feel like that's where I'm in this choice piece where I believe everything is a choice. So does that mean I can sue someone who's suing me depending on what tier they land at? Like I do believe that's a possibility. I believe all of it's possible. And that's, that's been a huge eye opener. Like, how can I stand and accept that truth with all the surrounding situations occurring and still be okay with it and let my heart flutter and still be okay? So I'm arriving with the willingness to just be in awe and, yeah, keep talking about how I feel no matter what. So with that, I'm in. Thanks. Oh.
Nefertiti, can I ask, is it a nice flutter or a kind of a worrying flutter, or is it like really difficult to feel it? Is it very faint, or is it?
It's a inhalation flutter. So like if I go really, right now I'm okay. I'm like stable, but there's times when in order to take a deep breath, it feels like that. So okay. It's I something's off. Yeah, it's like if something's off,
Mm.
and it just reminds me of because my grandmother who raised me said there was something in her blood, but you know, we never discussed these things. And just I used to be taking DNA nutrition, which I stopped taking to go a more natural route of Ayurvedic herbal medicine. So I'm just very in this, you know, bridging this gap of, hey, this is my body, and how things are being received are, you know, how do I work with that, with what I have, and be okay. Thank you, Parmjat. And I pass it to Jamie.
Thank you, Nefertiti. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm on a headset. So before I go, I just want to respond to what Nef said. Two things. One, I also am in an interracial relationship. Derek is from Vietnam, so he's Asian, and I do now experience kind of the trials and tribulations of being in that situation. So I hear you. And I can't believe it's 55 years, you know, it just seems such a short time period, right? It's like not even 100 years. It's like, wow, we are really living in a time that is just so, in a way, barbaric. I got a huge sense of this yesterday, and I'll share more about that when Mike is ready for me to do so. But I am arriving. Oh, the second thing I want to say about just health in general, as someone who's experienced a lot of health problems in my lifetime, and including a heart defect, which I thought I would have to have surgery for, which I'm okay and is monitored and it's fine. I have a murmur in my heart as well. It's called a PDA. And details of that I can go into another time, but I'll just say, you know, my heart sees your heart, Neff. You're such a beautiful soul. You care so much. And I find that often the people who care so deeply have so many things going on that they come up against to challenge them in life. And I think you're handling it beautifully. I think, you know, you handle a lot of things with grace and with you know, you just face things head on, and you're just like, okay, what is this here to teach me? And I think that's just a beautiful thing. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. So I am arriving very exhausted, mentally drained. I feel hopeful though, especially after yesterday. Oh my Lord. I just am very hopeful, and I think we're reaching a tipping point in some cases. I really hope we are, but I really do think we are, given what showed up yesterday. And so I am bringing the knowledge that I've received from yesterday that I would like to share with you guys. And I am also bringing I also want to respond to Parmjit, just a deep respect for the people who are really on the front lines, making something different happen in the world because they say, this is not okay. And with that, I'll pass it back to Mike.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah. So let's take a moment and slow down a little bit. What I've heard in these check-ins is what is practical. You know, what is the next practical step of what we're doing? What I'm hearing is there's a lot of weirdness, you know, for whatever that means to you individually. That's worth exploring. Yeah, and what I'm hearing also, Jamie, is this tie-in as well to the people on the front lines, you know, who are calling attention to what is not okay. I'm very interested in exploring that as well. So let's just do a second check-in. And I'm going to keep it loose. I'm just going to ask you what's been emergent for you in this moment. What's life affirming for you in this moment now that we've had a chance to check in with each other, and looking ahead at well, whatever the legal system or whatever justice means to you. So
I think
I'll open
I'm gonna go first on this one.
great, go for it, Jamie.
You said like what was the question? It's like real what's
What is emergent? What is
emergent?
life?
Okay.
What is life affirming right now?
Life affirming. This is very, very interesting question. So it's interesting you use the words life affirming, because I wanted to get that right. So yeah, so I'll just give a little more detail than on yesterday because it's really true for me. So yesterday I went to the Gun Sense. It was a rally. It wasn't a march for the March for Our Lives. And 4 years ago I marched with them because of Parkland, the shootings in Florida and the high school, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And many of the players, the people who have been instrumental in getting sensible gun laws passed in various states around the country were there, including David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez, who now goes by X and goes by they. They were all of them were the graduates of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School that were there were incredible speakers, really insightful, and just calling everyone to just go back and do whatever they can in their individual communities and states to make a difference in that area so that we can keep another school shooting from happening. And the school that recently had the 19 children killed in Uvalde, Texas, were all my son's age. So for me, that really hit home. And this is probably my biggest, like, if I was going to say that I care, what issue do I really care to make a difference in my lifetime, it would be this issue. I think that this is from the Stone Ages. This is from the barbaric times. This can't be happening, right? This is like why would someone even do this? It's so foreign from what I believe. It so goes against what I believe. And so I feel like I just have to call it out. I have to do something, whatever I can, to make shifts in this area for our country, because we are so behind the rest of the world. And that was pointed out yesterday. And so I just want to share it with you guys really quickly. I'll share as quickly as I can what happened. So during the presentation was said to be 2 hours long. We were standing there, and believe me, as we were there, it was just the most beautiful sight to see all these people show up in Washington, D.C. It was beautiful. There was like, you look on Facebook, you'll see droves of people. I took pictures, and they had marches all around the world, 450 marches all around the country, actually. And and they were pretty big. They had hundreds even in your area, Neff, in like Princeton, New Jersey. So we were standing there for 78 minutes. And at the 78-minute mark, there's this counter going on. And you're like, why are they timing this? 78 minutes, they stopped and they said, you'll notice the counter is at 78 minutes. This is how long it took for the law enforcement to enter the building to take care of those children, to protect the children. They said the bodies were so mutilated, they had trouble identifying them. These are 10-year-old kids shot by an 18-year-old kid. So I don't want to say that to totally shock you guys, but it's really, I mean, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, if that were me and those were my kids, or that was my precinct or whatever, I would have been in there. I would have gone against that guy's orders, and I would have just gone in there to do whatever I could. And I know I would. I know you say you don't know how you are in that situation, but I would do that. I know I would do that. It just boggled my mind that it took them 78 minutes. The whole crowd just went, there was a collective, oh my God, how could adults let that happen. And so we realized in that moment, like for me, you asked me what's life affirming. Well, just give me one more second. I know it's a little bit of a long story. Trying to shorten it as much as I can. After that moment, they asked for a moment of silence. During that moment of silence, a very loud man yelled something. I did not hear what he yelled, but apparently it was something along the lines of, "He's got a gun." The crowd started running. I and my child, who was with me, my 13-year-old Presley, and my good friend Sue was with me. The three of us started running because we didn't know what was happening. And we thought, get down on the ground, get down on the ground. Everybody got down on the ground. Like everybody got down on the ground. And lots of people started running. And we thought we're going to get trampled. So we started getting up and started running. Grabbed all of our stuff, and it was very, very scary. That was probably the scariest moment I've had in a long time in my life, and probably ever in my life, especially with my daughter with me. She was shaking when that was done. But there was someone who came on the loudspeaker and said, "Do not run. You are safe. You are okay." So we all kind of sat around and looked around and saw, do we trust it? Do we, but she was like, "Do not run." She's like, "You are fine." She was one of the people that organized, or was one of the speakers. Then she started speaking, and we were all like sitting there wondering what was happening. And this guy who was one of the organizers came on the screen, and he goes, "Look, we need to address what just happened." And it took like a good 10 minutes after they were done, like the one set of speeches, before they got to it. Because I think they were trying to figure out like what to say, but the guy didn't say anything of substance. He just said, someone yelled, "They've been removed. You're fine." And he said, "We love you. And we're glad that you're here. And I'm glad that your children are here." There were so many kids there. There were a lot of kids there, which was really great, I think, because it was the adults showing that the kids can make a difference, and the kids need to understand that this is like what we're standing for. But I think, when you say life affirming, like I just got in that moment that like my children are so my life and my heart. And it was like anything I can do to protect them and to protect our children here. Like it was so that in that moment, it was so scary. And I realized, and someone came on the thing and they said, we all got a taste of what it was like to be in that situation. But we need to recognize we are the ones on the front line. We are the ones that are here to make this kind of difference. And then when you do that, when you put yourself on the front line, you really are at a lot of risk. Even Parmjit, what you're up to, you're at risk, right? You're going to be at risk for a lot of things, scrutiny, and it's a lovely that your father is willing to look at things, but there's going to be people who are not willing to look at that and willing to see what's really going on. I felt a lot of love yesterday pouring from the crowd and pouring from the speakers there. It was unbelievable, mass love, and I could see why we were there. But we also were all very scared, and not quite sure where to go next. But we had that collective love, and it was very important, especially when X came up to speak. They were very angry and shared how they had tried to kill themselves, but they were told that by therapy that they could channel that frustration into anger and use it, and that's where they are, and they're still alive, thank God. But it's like you can only imagine what they went through to get to that point. So it's they were cursing. Every other word was, "Why aren't we passing any fucking gun laws? It's been fucking 4 years." I mean, every other word was that, but you could get that the fight was still there. The love was still there. Anyway, I wanted to share that. If you're asking me what's life affirming, it's this will to make this difference. It's this will to stand for my kids, and so that they get to have a better life, so that their kids get to have a better life.
Thank you, Jane. And thank you. I'm feeling, yeah, I'm receiving and feeling the, you know, the experience and the emotion that you felt and that they all felt yesterday. So thank you so much for sharing that. I want to take a pause, you know, to just kind of let that set in. And then I want to ask everybody if it's okay. I'd like to respond to what Jamie had offered, and maybe even go a little deeper. I'd like to ask permission before, you know, before I do that.
I don't know what I can do today. I'll go as far as I can.
It's okay. It's okay, Jamie. There's, you know, I recognize that it was an emotional day yesterday, and this is, I mean, having you retell that and relive that is emotional as well too. So whatever, you know, whatever you feel you can give today, you know, it will be received. So thank you. I appreciate your being here today and for telling us that story. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys. I love our group. And yesterday I told my ex what happened, and he was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." And because you know, I have to let him know Presley was pretty traumatized, my daughter.
Yeah.
And
Is she okay?
she's okay. She was
Okay.
a bit shaken up. All the kids
Sure.
the kids were really shaken up. I mean, the kids were just like, "Oh my God." Because you know, the kids, they live this, they do drills for this. I mean,
Mhm.
and I feel a little bit terrible as her parent for putting her in that situation, because she goes to a school, thank God, that has money and has its own you know, security, like police team. But you know, we actually got interviewed by New York. Presley and I got interviewed while we were there before this all happened by New York Magazine, which was really cool. So you might see something in there. It's called The Cut.
Mhm.
Is the section that we'll be in. And Presley and I were saying how, like, you know, Presley goes to a school that's protected pretty well. I mean, nobody's fully protected from this sort of thing at the moment because there's still automatic weapons out there. But she's pretty protected. But I mean, all of the people yesterday were saying how, you know, and it's so true, that all of the Black and brown children in this country are not as well protected. And it's really, it's like, so the disparity is so unfair and so awful and so barbaric. I can't sit anymore. I just can't. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, I've written op-eds and I've written, you know, letters to the editor on this topic. There was a girl who was shot blocks away from my house. It's coming closer to my door, and I'm not okay with it, even though it's, you know, I've been fighting this fight when it wasn't so close to my door, but I still feel like it's like nobody's safe
Right.
in this country at the moment. There's too many guns and too many you know, not as many restrictions. So it's such an issue.
Nefertiti, you have your hand up. Are you complete, Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I won't be complete on this ever. I don't think until it's done, but but I'm complete for now.
Yes, Nefertiti.
Thank you, Jamie. I just wanted to share about how my experience with gun violence and how it's weird why I said that I believe death is a choice. because my family, my father's retired military, Air Force, home full of guns, and we've had police encounters where the guns were removed. And then we've had the practicality of my father's enforcing his rights, and those are my property. And then a week after that occurred, his life was ended by the same weapon by my own mother. And she's, you know, this is a family situation that was built up over years, and radically, I see the energy in it because my father and mother have a lifetime of trauma together, unaddressed trauma, unidentified trauma, not trauma that was brought to light or cleared or heard or accepted or even acknowledged, but simply pain on top of pain on top of pain. And there was ample opportunity for help, ample opportunity for resolution. Um, and safety, I guess my definition of safety compared to another person's definition of safety is quite drastically different. Because as humans, I feel I become patterned. I become so comfortable with things that may not appear to be safe. However, that's where I have to sit and slow down and listen to my body, you know. And then I have to be aware of how, was it the gun that did the crime, or was it my mother's hurting heart, or was it my father's speaking into it? Because for years prior to this occurring, there were, we call them affirmations, because it's like when I want to talk into existence what I believe. I want to see healthy body, healthy this, but I can affirm the other way. I can affirm that life sucks. I can affirm that I don't want to live here anymore. And it's as powerful as my mouth says one thing, it's powerfully speaking the other as well. And I find it so touching how it takes something out of this world sometimes for me to realize, hey, there may be more to this practical life that I can do. You know, there may be more in my little corner of the world that I can do. You know, for me, it hasn't been telling somebody else what to do or what not to do. For me, it just hasn't helped me at all. For me, it's kind of made me have to just sit and listen more to my own self. My parents try to give me the best education. I don't truly put today my faith and resolution in politics or money, in the health system, and we're on a thin ice right now. That's all I can say. I have a doctor's appointment on Tuesday where they definitely want me on blood pressure medication, and I have another practitioner. So, I feel for how we all have our own traumas in our lives, and they do serve a purpose, which is the thing that's like so weird about them. It's so weird. And I found for me to be able to share with those in my space, like you shared when the woman came on the speaker and said, "You are okay. We are okay." Like that's just what I continue to return to, in spite of we are okay. So that's what I wanted to share. Um, And that's all I wanted to share. I love you. Thank you.
I love you, Neff. Thank you. I can't believe you had to live through that with your parents. It's unbelievable. It's pretty terrible, and I'm so sorry. You are such a beautiful person, given what you've lived through. It's just it's remarkable. It's really remarkable what you've done with it.
Radical forgiveness.
And I'll assert that I do think this is a people problem. I do think this is a people issue. I'm not blaming any guns. I actually don't even, in terms of the Second Amendment, sure, you keep and bear arms. Just, do so responsibly. You have a power in your hands to take people's lives. So do so responsibly. And it's the same thing all over the world. It's like we're responsible. We are responsible for how the world goes. And we haven't been so great at wielding that power yet. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you both. Good morning. Today is Saturday, August 20th, 2022. It is 6:36 in the morning. Welcome. I'm winding down these, I guess I'm calling these my technical narration, as far as the economics is concerned, with with what we're presenting about the core economy, about time banking. So today I'm arriving sad, a little bit of a heavy heart. I just learned of the sudden deaths of a couple who were instrumental in the time bank that I've been working with for the last couple of years. So I'm arriving feeling great appreciation for people, and that every moment is a chance for something new, a chance for creation, and a chance for endings. So I'm in deep mourning. And yeah, I'm just showing up with a desire to show up and to be present, and that we are all working through this thing called life together. And yeah, I'll go into my content here in a moment, but I'm also feeling a little bit of self-criticism, because to show up with a vulnerability means that you're not really coming in with a script. You know basically what you want to say, some of the points you want to make, but things emerge while you're presenting those. Last time I did this, the other day, I came to a point where my mind just I had to take a step back mentally, and really kind of really think about what it is that I wanted to say. And that's real. That's real. I'm acknowledging my desire to step away from things that are artificial, that don't feel real to me, that seem polished, that seemed refined, and just really acknowledge that we're all works in progress. A lot of these conversations that you see, we call them scaffolding conversations, because we're building, we're in the process of building. And I'm also very aware of our conditioning to chase around shiny objects instead of being present in the vulnerability and cultivating what's substantial. So I'm arriving with an appreciation for what's real, especially reflecting on and continuing to mourn the people in my life that I've lost. I'm just really, really appreciative of what's real, of what is substantial. Today, I'm bringing kind of a final checklist as to making sure and helping provide assurance that that the relationships and the time that you are investing in will make an impact. And again, that comes back to really cultivating the depths of the relationships that you are involved in, that you are cultivating, that are being magnetized to you as we speak. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so this is the final checklist. So the first thing, which I'm assuming you've already done, is purchase this product. So what that does is you're purchasing an educational product, but if you've gotten this far now into viewing the material, you know that it's also an investment product. So you have already learned how, all of the income that this product makes, how it's redistributed, and how, it starts to create a core economy out of the market economy. So the second thing that is on your checklist is that you've registered with the Karmic Margin Call Time Bank. So it's the Karmic Margin Call Project at www.karmicmargincall.com. So that's where you go to the, you've gone to the application process, and you've provided 2 references as well, and you've registered with our time bank. So that's how, we start logging the time that you are spending in service to others and the services you are receiving to others. So then that's how you are registered into our accounting system as far as changing the economics, financial reform. This is important. So hopefully you've received an EPE number by now. So if you've purchased this product and you've been logging in the Karmic Margin Call Time Bank, but you do not have an EPE number, please contact me, or contact whoever introduced you to this material. That is how we track both the speed and the location of how this banking system is growing. And that's also how we know, what your investment of time is worth. So hopefully you've received an EPE number by now. And you're coming up to the 20th hour. I'm going to be recording one more of these, these economic pieces, but at this point, you're getting close to, or you've already surpassed the 20-hour limit. And these are all hours that you have logged as a service provided in the ourworld.org site. When you log in, it takes you to the Karmic Margin Call Time Bank, and you've been logging, every step of the way. So for every 20-hour block of time, the maturity of that time investment will be $1,048,576. At some point, we're going to scale that back, but for now, every 20-hour block of time is expected to grow to that much financial return. So if you're logged in, if you're registered with the time bank, we'll be sending quarterly reports as to how much the bank is growing and how much each series number is worth. So, keep logging, because we'll also be talking here about how you can continue to reinvest for every hour served. We accept a $1.25 contribution, and you can register for a new EPE number. And the most important is deepening 3 relationships along the way. Hi. Okay, I'm going to try this again. The last thing on the checklist is deepening relationships along the way. I say 3 here, but really it's 2 to 3. And the reason being is that the lifeblood of all of this work, the lifeblood of kind of shifting this paradigm, changing financial structure, is really more about deeper partnerships, really being able to give in a way where you can receive as well. There's a mutuality, a reciprocity, to all of these relationships. Back when we were talking about the difference between a core economy and a market economy, the market economy relies on hierarchy. It relies on kind of a, and this is debatable, but an extractive nature. to kind of dominate your time. This work is really about deepening the relationship, regardless of what you do, as far as your service hours. And that whether your service hours is helping somebody raise their child, or painting, or doing something, working in the yard. What matters most is the relationship. And that's how this thing grows. That's how this entire system kind of evolves, in that we're getting away now from hierarchical relationships, more to mutual reciprocal relationships, where everybody's value is recognized, and everybody can be financially compensated for that. But it's a matter now of kind of taking just a little bit of time, and that's the thing. It doesn't require diving headfirst and making this the financial system. It's just 1 hour a week, maybe 1 hour a day, however you choose to do that. But this really only works when you are deepening a relationship with two people. That's how this duplicates itself and duplicates itself again, so that your choices, your decisions impact two others. And when that gets solidified for your two friends, or your two people that you are in relationship with, they are given permission to do the same. So the relationships are the biggest thing about all of this. You've already met now the people that I am in relationship with, both in the bridge conversation and the core fellowship now. And really, that's the work. The work is really just deepening the relationship. Because as we go into the commitment conversation, where there's more action, action is easy if everybody is aligned. Action almost feels like nothing. I mean, it was the kind of thing where you're going to see it soon, in our future conversations, that we've done the action. We've created 20 hours of work, and it feels like it was nothing. But in those 20 hours, our worlds were changed. I think the power in that is revealed as we're recording this, we're sharing this, we're asking people to be a part of these conversations now. It's not it's not like a closed silo where we've had these conversations, they're done, we made decisions. No, it's ever evolving, and maybe you are a direct part of that. Maybe you're going to take this and do your own thing with it. So the beautiful thing about it is you can take this now. The only thing I'm really doing is just bringing attention to how we can restructure things based on our efforts. What you do with it is completely up to you. So what happens next? What happens next is whatever you want to do with this, whatever services you want to provide, whatever services you want to receive, that creates another 20-hour block. And you did it. If I did this correctly, you would have already served 20 hours just by watching these conversations, watching my little tutorial here as well. And if you are sharing this, if you are in relationship, you've affected 1 million people. If if all of those people are participating in this kind of a workshop, that's 130 million hours. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, and that will be my last recording in this series. But yeah. So let's breathe that in a moment. Congratulate yourself for getting to the end. It's almost the end, and how do you make that real? That you've done something of significance. Listening and being able to explore possibilities, that's significant. I think in our culture, especially our American culture, we're conditioned to believe that without any action, or without suffering, that our time doesn't matter. But this can be the beginning of something completely new, not just for you, but for everybody you interact with. So what happens next? Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do next? What do you want to be in this world? Who are you in relationship with? Who do you want to deepen relationship with? So those are the big questions. All right, so I'm going to sign off here for this segment. For me, it's 2 days later. So I started this segment 2 days ago. Now I'm 2 days later because of family conflicts. There's the clock. So you will see me at the end of the next segment, whether that's tomorrow for you, next week, however you're choosing to do this. It's all good. So yep, thank you for watching, and catch up with you next time.